welcome to the Football Corner Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremiah Queen. And of course, before we get started with today's episode, I would like for all my viewers out there on YouTube, hit that like button, click that notification bell, also hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with the channel when new videos drop. Also, if you're listening to me on a podcast app like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or even Spotify, go subscribe to the podcast. So, let's talk about the Bengals. The Bengals are just a bad football team. No one wants to say it because Joe Burrow is injured or is injury prone and has a calf injury, in which I alluded to in multiple episodes ago that he should not have started the season. He should have waited till about week 5, give that calf a little more rest. But unfortunately, they wanted to put him out there. And this is what happens when you do. And I hear a lot of people giving him an excuse for his bad play. They're averaging 12 points a game in 4 games. Any other quarterback that would be put up these type of numbers, they will be ridiculed on television on Monday, Tuesdays, or throughout the week. But because Joe Burrow is beloved and he has had played good games in the past and has been to a Super Bowl, no one wants to talk about his bad play. But I'm here to say, if you're going to be the highest paid quarterback in NFL history, if you're going to sign this mega contract, if the Bengals are going to be paying you $53 million a year, you need to show up. Because if you come on a football field, even if you are injured, if you're on the football field, you have to play as if you are 100%. That's why you're out there. Because if you can't give your 100%, put in the backup. Jake Browning's there. You have a backup quarterback. The Bengals have a backup quarterback. And you can sense frustration in that locker room. Jamar Chase, after every loss, he's saying something to the media. Talking about, I'm always open. That's alluding to that he's not getting enough targets. That means there's no chemistry there. And he hates losing. Y'all lost to the Titans. And the Titans are not a dominant team. You can say they're well coached. I really do like Mike Vrabel. I think he is a really good coach in the NFL, one of the better coaches. But the Titans are not this juggernaut of a team, and you lost 27-3. Joe Burrow only put up 3 points, and it is atrocious. So in that transition, let's go to our heroes and zeros of Week 4. The first hero has to be Josh Allen. And on this podcast, I'm constantly bashing Josh Allen because of his turnover problem. And I like Josh Allen. I just don't like the turnovers. He reminds me of Brett Favre, a guy who's a gunslinger, and he's constantly turning the ball over, but then he'll throw a touchdown the next week. Josh Allen was dominant, and Josh Allen owns the Miami Dolphins. It's not, and it's one of those things to where, like, I think the Dolphins are a top 5 team in the NFL, but they just cannot beat the Bills. It's a thing that happens with certain teams can't beat another team. It's just like Lamar Jackson can't beat the Steelers. Joe Burrow can't beat the Browns. It's a trending trend. But I will say this. Josh Allen threw for 4 touchdowns, had over 300 passing yards, and a rushing touchdown, and in a blowout win against the Dolphins. It's not to say that the Buffalo Bills are going to be this team to win the Super Bowl, but at least for Week 4, Josh Allen has been on a tear for the past 3 weeks. He has been playing good football, and which he has done in the past. He's a really good regular season quarterback, but I think the Miami Dolphins would be fine going throughout the rest of the season. It's just how it's going to play out. Second guy, hero, is C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud is the best rookie quarterback from this past rookie class. You can have Bryce Young, and I don't think Bryce Young is really playing good football. I really do like to see what I saw from Anthony Richardson. They were down 23 points, and he comes back to get them to go to overtime. Anthony Richardson never gets to touch the football in overtime. I think C.J. Stroud is a top 15 quarterback right now. It's just the way he's playing and the poise he has. He beat a really good Steelers football team that has T.J. Watt and Alex Highsmith, Patrick Peterson, Mika Fitzpatrick, all these dominant defensive players, and Mike Tomlin being a defensive-minded head coach. He played really good football. I really like what I saw from C.J. Stroud in a blowout win against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then you have heroes, and now we have zeros. The guys who really didn't show up for their team because of their bad play. We go back to that Steelers team and Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett is not playing good football right now. I don't know if he used all his skills in the preseason, in which they were dominating in the preseason, which doesn't matter. In the regular season, this Steelers offense just cannot get on the right track. I don't know what it is. It could be play calling. It could be the offensive coordinator, Mike Canada. Something's missing. because they have the skill positions there. They have Najee Harris. They have George Pickens. They have Pat Freiermuth. I don't know what the actual issue is for this franchise, but something has to change in order for them to keep up in the AFC North. And then you also have Joe Burrow. I already talked about Joe Burrow to start this segment off, but Joe Burrow's not playing good football at all. It could be the calf, and it's most likely the calf injury, but he's out there. If you're going to be out there, you got to put up more points than 3. You got to put up more than 3 points. And you only threw for 165 passing yards in an NFL game. You got to give me more than that. This offense runs through the quarterback who's making the most money in the NFL currently and has making the most money in NFL history. You can't put up 3 points in a football game. Not if you're going to be a top-tier team, not if you're going to be the highest-paid quarterback, or not if you have high expectations of going to the Super Bowl and being a Super Bowl contender. The Bengals are 1-3 on the season. It's not looking good, and the future does not look bright for this franchise. Let's talk about the MVP of Week 4, and that has to go to Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is sneakily playing the best football of his career, but no one's noticing it because the Baltimore Ravens, all they hear about them is the injuries that this team that happens to this team. Like OBJ was out, Rashad Bateman, the former first-round pick receiver they drafted, has never been on the field. Ronnie Stanley, the former All-Pro left tackle, has not played meaningful football. Lamar Jackson, despite all the injuries around him on this roster, he has just put up W's. Even last week in Week 3, if a pass interference is called in that Colts game, Justin Tucker kicks a game-winning field goal in overtime, and the Baltimore Ravens will be 4-0. Lamar Jackson has completed more than 70% of his passes in 4 straight games. You heard it. 4 straight passes. He only has 1 interception on the season, 4 touchdowns. He has 4 rushing touchdowns. In Week 4, he had 2 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns, blew out the Browns. And I understand the Browns didn't have Deshaun Watson, banged up shoulder. It's understandable. But Lamar Jackson can't control what whether the quarterback shows up or not that he's playing. He's playing that defense, and the defense was number 1 ranked coming into Week 4, and he dismantled it. Keep in mind, the Browns defense only giving up 1 touchdown. 1 touchdown all season. He put up 4. That's why Lamar Jackson is my Week 4 MVP. And now, let's chill, take it back. We'll come out to the timeout corner. And the timeout corner is you only get here because of some franchise that is just horrible, doing something bad throughout 4 weeks, and your whole franchise needs to be like coaches need to be fired, personnel need to be fired. And we got to start with the Chicago Bears. Now, Matt Eberflus is this head coach and defensive guru, and yet he has had the worst defense I've ever seen in the last 2 years. This Chicago Bears defense is horrible. And even though they had a 21-7 lead, and Justin Fields had a career day throwing 4 touchdowns, over 330 passing yards, they were not able to eke out and win. He scored 28 points, and that defense gave up 31. Now you could say, well, Justin Fields didn't play too good in the second half. But your defense didn't play good at all the whole game, Matt Eberflus. I know a lot of people are talking about Justin Fields of his bad quarterback play, but I think you got to start looking at the head coach, because the head coach, you are a defensive-minded head coach. You are not holding your defense accountable. It's one thing if your offense is stale because you don't coach that side of the football and you never did, but when you coach the defensive side of the football and your team is not playing good defense at all, it's a problem. So if I'm the owner and I'm the GM, I'm looking at both the quarterback and the head coach, because one of those guys got to go before the end of the season. And then you have the New England Patriots. Bill Belichick is done. He's washed. He only cares about one side of the football, and that's the defense. He does nothing to uplift Mac Jones and for this offense to get going or put skill positions around him. And this is why the Patriots will have a losing record again, and this is why the Patriots will be missing the playoffs. The Patriots are 1-3, and they haven't had a good game at all offensively this season. Their defense still shows up, and that's because Bill Belichick only cares about the defense. But Bill Belichick will put a little energy into the offense. They will score a little bit more points. And Mac Jones got benched in the third quarter for Bailey Zappi. That's not a good sign at all. I think Bill Belichick is done with Mac Jones, and I think he's a big reason why Mac Jones has not has not developed into a quarterback that we think he actually could be. Bill Belichick, I understand he's one of the greatest coaches of all time. But if I'm Robert Kraft, the owner, I'm looking real hard and thinking like, my franchise has not done anything in the past 2 seasons. They're on a decline. We have an old head coach who's the older head coach in the NFL currently. He's going to be approaching 75 years old. You have to change something about the Patriots system and the Patriot way of things because their offense is stale. All right, it's time for upset of the day. I don't have to go to the Houston Texans and their victory over the Steelers. The Texans are sneakily a really very competitive team. I like what I see from the quarterback. I like what I see from D'Amico Ryans as the head coach. This team fights for the young head coach. I love to see it. The Steelers, there's a lot of questions to be asked on their offense because you can't let a team who's supposed to have a top 5 pick that in most people's perspective beat you in that fashion. You only score 6 points to get the Houston Texans team. But kudos to the Texans. They're more competitive than what I get them credit for. I think they will be a team in conversation coming down to the playoffs in 2023. Wait, you're still here? Well, click that like button, click that subscribe button. Also, click that notification bell so you can stay up to date with videos that drop on our channel. Also, you can follow me on my social media pages at the Football Corner Podcast. Thanks for watching. See you next time.